we meet again. Strange things happen when you go to the local charity stores. Um, I popped down there a couple of days ago and they had nothing. They had a pile of records, absolute rubbish. But I picked up three CDs. Gustav Mahler Symphony Number 5, the Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra, Zubin Mehta Conductor, uh, which was, it's got this shit cover about Death in Venice, that shit movie, but it sounds absolutely extraordinary. On the Bell Art label, which I've never heard of. Um, well, actually, I have heard of it, but I've never actually heard anything um, licensed from Decca. So I'm not a huge fan of Mahler. I've got very little of his stuff. There's no melodies, there's no memorable, there's no emotions, but there's something about it that it sort of grows on you. When I got to the end of this, which I found hard going, the end I was actually quite, almost moved. But I wouldn't say Mahler is one of my favourites. This one's sort of like a best of ABBA type thing for classical people that don't really like classical beyond the obvious, chocolate box stuff. It's got Mahler, Pachelbel, which is astonishing because he was born in 1653 and died in 1706. And when you think that, I don't know, if you've never heard of Pachelbel, if you hear his canon, not a cannon that blows people up, but it's a musical term, it only goes for 5 minutes. It's quite repetitious. It was so far ahead of its time. And in the 70s, every second ad, doesn't matter whether it was cars or feminine hygiene products, they'd have Johann Pachelbel's little piece of music. That's about the only thing he's known for. That is a long, long time before Beethoven. I mean, he died in 1706. I mean, I don't even know if Beethoven was born then. Let's see if he was born then. There's no Beethoven on here. Yes, there is. He was born in 1770. So that was like almost 100 years before Beethoven. And his music is nothing like Beethoven. He's not, it's obviously very inspired by Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, one of, what, 3 or 4 brothers that made music. Anyway, I'm waffling. Yeah, the usual. Brahms, I'm not a fan of Brahms. Vivaldi, I like some of, I love Grieg. Wolfgang Mozart. Yeah, I can take him or leave him. Albini, I really do quite like. He's also very early, 1600s. Ludwig van, Johann Sebastian Bach, Jean Sibelius, a wonderful Finnish composer. Bit like Mahler in that there's no sort of hummable tunes or, it's very much soundscape. So is Mahler. That's what it is. It's sort of like a soundscape. It's all right. You got to be in the mood. Now this is the one I nearly threw back. It's got a pretty shit looking cover. Um, and I saw it and it said privilege, and then I looked again and it's got Deutsche Grammophon. I thought, well, it can't be too bad. When I opened it, it's definitely Deutsche Grammophon. But this privilege must have been like a cheaper budget version because this has got 2 different performances by 2 different artists. And it's got not a nasty scratch. There's a couple of scratches on the back, which, yeah, there it is up there in that corner up here. I looked at it and thought, oh, I've only got one other CD that skips, or doesn't skip, it just sticks in one spot. And this one, I got to tell you this, I don't like violin concertos. I just don't. I like violins in an orchestra when it's just part of the rhythm section. But a violin up front as lead instrument is like torture, fingernails down the blackboard to me. But this one got me in. It was Beethoven. I don't know if he had any more than one violin concerto. Um, he's got a thing here called Romance for Violin, a couple of those, but I don't think they're concertos. Anyway, um, and somebody called Wolfgang Schneiderhan, and I've never heard of him. Then it says Romances numbers 1 and 2 by David Oistrakh, which is quite famous. Him and his brother. He's a violinist, and his brother. I'm not sure whether whether he played an instrument or whether he was a conductor or what. But these are both great performances. But I never got to hear the second one. But so the first one is the Concert for Violin and Orchestra in D or whatever. Now, what happened was I put it on and it sounds absolutely superb because it is a Deutsche Grammophon. I'm going, wow. And it was so obviously Beethoven, that typical, that fantastic when he gets into that wham bam stuff. But then there's violin on top. And I thought, this isn't annoying the shit out of me like normal. And I really got into it. And then it got to the point almost over halfway through where it got stuck. This was such a radical recording from 1962. This guy was sort of doing stuff that you weren't supposed to do on the violin, especially this Beethoven one. And apparently thousands of people have copied it ever afterwards. This was recorded in 1962. And the violinist was really, I thought, gee, this guy's getting pretty exuberant here. And I thought, wow, because Beethoven's usually pretty exuberant, what I'm saying. But then suddenly he did a bit where he repeated a few notes, and I thought, wow, that's a bit like fucking Frank Zappa in 1962. But then a little bit later again, it did it again. And he just got this thing going, ding, 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 ding. It was just stuck. And I thought, oh, bloody hell. So I thought, I paid $1 for this, right? Now, I thought, is it worth getting another copy and paying a few bucks on getting on eBay? So I get on there, and there are quite a few of this. And the one I ordered, which is a different cover, it's the actual original Deutsche Grammophon CD and cover. It's not all Beethoven. It's got the Beethoven here, and the second choice, played by Wolfgang Schneiderhan, is Mozart Violin Concerto Number 5. I might tolerate it. I haven't heard it properly. I'm not a huge fan of Mozart. Anyway, to get to the point, I looked up Dave Hurwitz at Classical, what's it called? Classical Music Magazine. He's got thousands of videos. He's an absolute expert, and I trust his. He gets a bit snippy at times, but I trust his judgment. And I thought I'll just see what he's got to say about Ludwig von Beethoven, Van Zeppelin violin concerto. And straight away, one pops up, and he's going off about it, saying, this is the greatest. And like I just said, he said this was a mind-blowing breakthrough in lead violin or something. And he was going on and on. I thought, wow. I thought even I liked it, and I don't like violin as lead instrument. And I thought, gee, and so I thought that's sealed the deal. So I got on eBay, and there's quite a few copies. I coughed up one, cost me $20 free postage, and from Australia, I don't have to wait for it to come from the UK just to save a few bucks. But this is the funny bit. Now down here on this CD, there are two romances by Beethoven. Wolfgang Schneiderman again, Schneiderhan violin. Sorry, that was the first one. Eugen Joachim, conductor. The second one is David Oistrakh again, violin. Sir Eugene Goosens. I thought, I know that name. And, I better do it quick. It's 10 minutes now. I thought, I know that name. So I quickly looked it up. I went, oh, bloody hell, that's right. He came out here in 1947 and he was the conductor of the Sydney Symphony Orchestra for 9 years. And there was this huge scandal. Um, he apparently went back to UK at some stage uh, after being out here for 9 years, and he went back, and then he came back, went home to the UK, and then he came back to Sydney. And the minute he hit Sydney, customs and the police grabbed him, and they arrested him. Uh, Rosaline Norton was known as the Witch of King's Cross. She was a famous flagellant and occultist, Satanist. And apparently, this dirty old bastard, Sir Eugene Goosens, was heavily into that shit too. And he was busted for pornography, and it turned out that he was fiddling with one of the little girls in the orchestra. So he went back to the UK in disgrace. Anyway, I thought you'd like that. Um,